Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna do something that's quite simple. Basically, some kind of image processing, and it's basically image displacement. And I will be using Sverchok nodes and Blender Compositor to do this. The final result looks something like this. So as you can see, it's an image of the cat being displaced. But what is displacing the cat image? Let's have a look. So first of all, I will get my square cat image and just drag and drop cat image into Blender, file, save as, and I'll call this displacement demo. So we can do this in a few different ways. Like for example, if you are actually using a plane and then you map you subdivide the planes and then map this image of the cat into the plane and then you displace it using displace modifier, you can get kind of that kind of look like a image being displaced. But let's do it this way using Blender Compositor. So I'm in the Blender render at the moment, and this is compositing. Use nodes, and we have this render layers and composite. And I'm gonna save it again, and I will source this image first of all, get our square cat, and I'm gonna use viewer node, viewer node, plug into this guy and scrub a little bit, and I should be able to see the result. So I will have like a 3 split this layout. And here I will be displaying the viewer node, which is the result of the cat. And it's going to be the final composite. What's in the middle is we're going to procedurally generate texture to displace our cat. Okay, so let's do that. And here we will be using a texture and displace node. Okay, so this is the trick. I learned this from Sage from Blender NPR. This is a very interesting setup. But in order to do this, you want to have some kind of procedural texture, and for that, I will be using Sverchok. So let's do that real quick. The cat image I'm using is 400 by 400 pixels. So I will create like maybe 100 by 100 pixel, just a simple random image, for example. So I'll create a maybe random vector for a start. Random vector 100 by 100 is 10,000, and I'm gonna plug it into texture viewer, and it's gonna be 100 by 100, just a smaller, 4 times smaller than this final image. And I will be plugging it into this RGB, and we should get some kind of a noise image. So random vector equal noise, and this noise should look something like, if I pass it into the texture, it should look like something like this. So there's this weirdness happening in Blender. That's because of, I don't know, my OpenGL thing. So anyhow, this is a very small image, 100 by 100, but this is like procedural, and I can update it anytime if I like. And let's switch back to image compositor, and we can grab our texture. Okay, for this texture to be showing here, we need to go to texture and then create a new, and then image, and then this is gonna be the texture. So we can grab it here now. This is a texture we generate using Sverchok, and this is something that we will be using here. So this the image goes into displace node, and the result goes into viewer. Hopefully this works as intended. There is no effect. I'll increase this to 10 by 10, and you see the cat image is now starting to change. I'll go higher, like 50 by 50, and you see now this noise is displacing the cat like this. It's very cool. So you have like this way to generate noise on the fly using Sverchok, and it's got updated if you scramble it or things like that, and then update this viewer node. It will update automatically. Let's try something different. If we are using plane, and the plane will be like 100 by 100 as well. And if we are using vector noise, oh sorry about this image weirdness, I'll reload Blender real quick. Okay, so plane goes into the vector noise, and then this goes into, so we can use scalar or vector. I'll show you the difference. If I'm using vector and we are in RGB mode, we're gonna get something like that. So not too exciting, it's almost like a noise itself. You can actually use center and normalize. And normalize is particularly interesting, but maybe I don't use normalize, but instead changing the stepping. So with the stepping, I have more control over the noise, how large is the noise and things like that. And you can see the effects on the cat. It's changing in real time. It's very cool. And let's say if you are like make this a bit larger, change this to Voronoi or cell noise. This is one of my favorite. Really, this image scramble an image, almost like kind of mosaic. It's give that mosaic look. It's very cool. Something that you can use, and if you want to render the animations, you can of course do that. Make sure the dimensions matching this image, and you can just hit animation. It's gonna render this frame by frame. If you want it like animating, you can do a couple of things. You can assign the seed. So for every frame, the seed will change. If you plug in like a frame number, it's doing this OpenGL error once again. So anyhow, vector noise doing that. But if you plug in like frame info into this guy, it's gonna update on every frame. That's gonna be your animations. You can also kind of move. If you want to have like a more smooth motion, you can use move, and it's gonna be a vector. And if you're moving it in the X or Y, you can see the cell pattern is kind of moving, and the Z is actually very cool. See that image, the noise, it's gonna change, and it's gonna update our final image as well. You can also offset it somewhere here if I'm not wrong, or scale it. Scale the, if you notice the cat has some kind of weirdness here around the edge. Maybe you can kind of scale this image, or oh no, actually you cannot do that. Maybe offset it. There is a little bit of technique that's kind of to avoid this kind of edge issue, but probably I'll talk about it in the next live noding. For now, we can just play around with this Voronoi, and perhaps using something different like a vector. Oh man, I have to reload. Vector turbulence, and use the vertices from our grid and plug in the noise as a result. And this is also give you like a very interesting look. So that's quite extreme, but that's quite nice. And then here you can actually use larger if you want to have a better resolution, but small is no problem as well. And let's see, you can also use BW, which is the black and white, and then you switch this to scalar, and then you're gonna get a different look. So that's the issue that I was talking about with the edge. It's kind of like the image being displaced in certain directions. There is a way to fix that using vector math, kind of multiplying it with a negative value. It's kind of offsetting the cat, so the cat is gonna move back to the original position. But I think I will talk about that in the next live noding. So for now, I think this is pretty much it. So that's, I think, this very interesting result there with Voronoi. Yes, that's pretty much it. If you remember, if you want to change the dimension, let's say you're gonna go higher, like 200, make sure you also change this plane to 200. So you're gonna get higher resolutions for our effect. And so yeah, that's Sverchok nodes working with Blender Compositor, and this is the whole process. So this is the original, and then that's the procedural texture, and this is the final result. So we're gonna fix this in the maybe next live noding, but I'm gonna take a snapshot. So that's all pretty much for this live noding. Hopefully you enjoy this. Let me know if you have any suggestion, comments. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time.